Sodom was the most depraved city in the ancient world, a place so corrupt, so beyond redemption, that the Almighty God himself came down from heaven to erase it from the face of the earth in a single morning. But what most people don't know is what daily life inside those walls actually looked like. And the real reason God destroyed it is not the sin everyone assumes. The Prophet Ezekiel, writing centuries after the ash settled, reveals something that should stop every one of us cold. The depravity was not the disease, it was the final symptom. The disease started with three things that look nothing like evil, three things that look, in fact, exactly like success. This is the complete story of Sodom, a paradise that became a prison to the souls of men. Before we see the paradise, we need to know who built it. Genesis 10 draws the borders of a territory belonging to a man named Canaan, son of Ham, grandson of Noah. After the flood, Ham sinned against his father, and Noah spoke a curse over Ham's son Canaan that would echo through generations. The borders of Canaan's territory are listed precisely in Genesis 10:19, from Sidon toward Gerar, as far as Gaza, and towards Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim. Sodom was a Canaanite city, built by a cursed bloodline on land that carried a generational sentence. And yet, when Abraham and Lot looked down at this valley, it looked like the garden of the Lord. That is always how the trap works. Close your eyes and picture Sodom. Most people picture a dark city, a cursed place, something ugly from the beginning. The Bible says the exact opposite. Genesis 13 records the moment Abraham and his nephew Lot stood on the highlands and looked down at the Jordan Valley. Abraham gave Lot the first choice of land, and what Lot saw took his breath away. The text says the entire Jordan Valley was well watered everywhere, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. This was not a wasteland. This was the most fertile, most beautiful, most abundant land in the ancient Near East. It was the ancient world's version of a Gold Coast, a booming, wealthy, thriving civilization sitting at the crossroads of major trade routes, surrounded by water, bursting with agriculture, accumulating staggering wealth. If you walked through the gates of Sodom at the height of its power, you would not see a slum. You would see staggering luxury, palaces built from the wealth of 100 trade routes, markets overflowing with exotic spices, fine linen, and imported gold. You would hear music engineered to drown out the conscience. You would see banquets where men ate until they were sick, while beggars starved just outside the dining hall doors. It was a culture obsessed with its own reflection, a society that had conquered nature, conquered poverty for the elite, and decided it no longer needed heaven. They had built a world where every appetite could be fed and every impulse could be purchased. Lot looked down at paradise and chose it. Nobody can blame him for that. Paradise is supposed to be good. But here is where the story begins, its slow, terrible descent. Lot does not move into Sodom immediately. The text is precise about this. He pitched his tent toward Sodom, not in Sodom, toward it. He camped on the edge, he stayed close. He let his children grow up within sight of the city walls. He told himself he was separate. He told himself the proximity was harmless. He was wrong. This is the mechanism by which Sodom destroys people. Not a sudden plunge, a gradual drift. You don't jump into the deep end. You pitch your tent near the water. You flirt with the culture. You let the music play in the background. You tell yourself you're still in control. And slowly, without a single dramatic moment of decision, the city gets inside you. Here is what Ezekiel says about why Sodom was destroyed, not what most people expect. not the sin everyone assumes. Ezekiel 16:49 records God's own diagnosis. She and her daughters were arrogant, overfed, and unconcerned. They did not help the poor and needy. Arrogant, overfed, unconcerned. That is the root. That is the disease. When a culture accumulates extreme wealth, extreme comfort, and loses all fear of God, sin does not stay where it starts. It mutates. It escalates. People who are bored with luxury begin to reach for something darker to feel alive. Cruelty becomes entertainment. Exploitation becomes normal. What was once unthinkable becomes Thursday night. And Sodom was not alone. This is important. People think of Sodom as one city. It was not. There were 5 cities of the plain: Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Zoar. 5 cities, an entire civilization, a whole interconnected culture of wealth without conscience, luxury without limits, and abundance without gratitude. Whatever infected Sodom had spread across an entire region. This was not a single corrupt city. This was a corrupt world. Because of their wealth, Sodom became a target. For 12 years, the 5 cities of the plain paid tribute to a coalition of eastern kings led by Chedorlaomer of Elam. Every year, a portion of Sodom's enormous wealth flowed east as payment. Protection money, essentially. In the 13th year, the 5 cities made a decision. They stopped paying. What followed is the first military coalition recorded in the Bible. 4 kings marching from the east against 5 kings defending the valley. Genesis 14 documents what scholars now recognize as a major ancient geopolitical conflict. This was not a border skirmish. This was a regional war, and Sodom lost. The valley of Siddim, where the battle was fought, was filled with asphalt pits, natural tar deposits that turned the battlefield into a death trap. Sodom's army collapsed into them. The eastern kings walked through the valley, looted the city, took everything that could be carried, and marched home with prisoners. Among those prisoners was Lot, who had by now moved his entire family inside the city walls. Word reached Abraham, and what Abraham did next is one of the most astonishing military operations in ancient history. He gathered 318 trained men from his own household. He divided them into units. He pursued the Eastern Coalition by night, struck them from multiple directions simultaneously, and routed a battle-hardened army that had just defeated 5 cities. He recovered every person, every possession, everything. He brought Lot home. And then 2 kings came to meet Abraham on the road. This is the moment the entire story turns on. This is the crossroads. The first king is Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of God Most High. He comes bearing bread and wine. He blesses Abraham in the name of God, and Abraham, the most powerful man in the region at that moment, tithes to him. 10% of everything given freely to this priest king of a city that will one day be called Jerusalem. Then the second king arrives, King Bera of Sodom. He does not bring bread and wine. He brings an offer. He tells Abraham to keep all the recovered wealth. Take the goods. You earned them. Keep everything. Abraham refuses. He will not take a single thread, a single sandal strap from the king of Sodom. He does not want Sodom to be able to say it made Abraham rich. 2 kings, 2 offers. One brings bread and wine and points toward Jerusalem. One brings wealth and points toward ashes. Abraham saw the difference clearly. The king of Sodom did not see it at all. God had given Sodom a warning. He sent Abraham to rescue them. He showed them, through the contrast of those 2 kings standing on the same road, that there were 2 kingdoms and 2 destinations. Sodom took the gold back and went home. They were going to need a louder warning. That warning would come, but they would not listen to that one either. Decades pass. Lot is still in Sodom. When the angels find him, he is sitting in the gateway of the city. This is not a casual detail. In the ancient world, the city gate was the seat of civic authority. Judges sat at the gate, elders conducted business there. Lot sitting in the gateway of Sodom means Lot has become a city official. He is not just living in Sodom, he is governing it. He is part of its structure. He has assimilated completely. And yet the New Testament tells us his soul was vexed, tormented. He knew something was wrong. He could feel the wrongness of the city every single day. But he stayed, because by now he had daughters married to men of Sodom. He had property. He had status, he had built something here, and the thought of walking away from all of it was unthinkable. Before the angels reach Sodom, God tells Abraham what he is about to do. He is going down to see if what he has heard about the city is true. And Abraham does something remarkable. He bargains. He stands before God and begins to negotiate for the lives of people he knows are wicked. What if there are 50 righteous people in the city? Will you spare it for 50? God agrees. Abraham pushes. What about 45, 40, 30, 20, 10? Each time, God agrees. If there are just 10 righteous people inside Sodom, the entire city will be spared. 10 people. In a city. That is the threshold of God's mercy. The lives of 10 good people would have been enough to hold back the fire. The angels arrive at the city gate at evening. Lot sees them and immediately understands they need protection. He urges them to come to his house. He knows what happens to strangers in Sodom at night. He knows what this city does to the vulnerable. Before they sleep, the men of the city surround the house. Genesis 19:4 does not allow for any ambiguity. Both young and old, all the people to the last man, surrounded the house. Every man in the city, young men and old men, the entire male population gathered outside Lot's door. There were not 10 righteous men in Sodom. There was not even one. What happens next reveals how deeply Sodom had gotten inside Lot. He opens the door. He tries to reason with the mob. And then he offers them his daughters, his own daughters. To protect the angels, he is willing to hand his children to that crowd. This is not heroism. This is a man so shaped by the culture around him that he has lost the ability to think clearly about what is precious and what is not. Sodom did not just surround his house that night. Sodom had been living inside him for years. The angels pull Lot back through the door, and then they act. Every man in that mob is struck blind, instantly, supernaturally. A force beyond human explanation removes their sight in a moment, and the reasonable expectation is that a crowd suddenly blinded by an invisible power would scatter in terror. They would run. They would go home and stay there. They do not go home. Genesis records that despite being struck blind, they wearied themselves trying to find the door. They kept reaching, kept searching, kept clawing at the wall in the dark, trying to find a way in. They could not see. They could not find the door, and they could not stop trying. That is the portrait of a mind fully consumed by its own corruption. They had been blinded by a supernatural force, and they did not care. They wanted what they wanted. Nothing else registered. Not terror, not reason, not the obvious message that something far beyond human power was inside that house. They just kept scratching at the wall. There were not 10 righteous men in Sodom. The fire was coming in the morning. The angels do not wait for Lot to be ready. They grab him by the hand, they grab his wife, they grab his 2 daughters, and they drag them out of the city by force, telling them to run and not look back. Whatever you do, do not look back. Lot's wife has a name in Jewish tradition. She's called Irit. She was a mother. She had daughters who were still in that city, married to men who laughed when Lot warned them to leave. She had a home there, friends, a life built over decades. She had unpacked her life in Sodom and filled every room. As she runs, everything she has ever known is behind her. She looks back. It is easy to read that as a small mistake, a moment of weakness, a quick glance over the shoulder. But Jesus does not read it that way. In Luke 17, when he warns his disciples about the last days, he says 3 words: remember Lot's wife. Not remember Sodom, not remember the fire. Remember her, just her. Because her sin was not the glance. Her sin was what the glance revealed. She looked back because her heart was still there. Her body was leaving Sodom, but she was not leaving Sodom. She loved what God was destroying. She mourned what God was judging. She became a pillar of salt. And then the fire falls. The Bible describes sulfur and fire raining from the sky, the earth opening, total destruction. Modern researchers studying the site at Tal el-Hammam have found evidence of a cosmic airburst event, likely a meteor or comet fragment, that detonated in the atmosphere above the valley at temperatures that would have exceeded the surface of the sun. The blast wave would have traveled at hypersonic speed. Every structure in the valley leveled in seconds, the heat so intense it melted pottery into glass, boiled water in the soil, and stripped the topsoil off the entire valley floor. An entire civilization erased in a single morning. Abraham walks out that morning and looks toward the valley. Where Sodom and the 4 cities stood, he sees smoke rising like the smoke of a furnace. Nothing left, nothing moving, just smoke. But the story does not end there. This is important. Sin does not end with the fire. Lot and his 2 surviving daughters flee to a cave in the mountains. They are the only ones left, and his daughters, shaped by years inside Sodom, decide that the only way to preserve their family line is to deceive their father. They do it on 2 consecutive nights. The sons born from those nights are named Moab and Ammon, and those 2 nations, born in a cave from the ruins of Sodom, will become 2 of Israel's most persistent enemies for the next 1,000 years. The curse that started with Ham, that built Sodom through Canaan, that survived the fire in the cave, kept reproducing. The fire destroyed the city. But what Sodom had put inside the survivors walked out with them into the mountains. Sin echoes. It travels through generations. It does not die in the rubble. Where Sodom stood, you can look at a map today. The region is now covered by the Dead Sea, the lowest point on Earth, the saltiest body of water on the planet. Nothing grows there. No fish live there. No vegetation lines its shores. The ground around it is white with mineral deposits. It is a permanent scar. God did not just destroy the city. He salted the earth beneath it so thoroughly that 4,000 years later, nothing has returned. You can open Google Maps right now and see exactly what divine judgment looks like from a satellite. Now, I need to talk to you directly, not about Sodom, about you. The first sin was pitching the tent. Nobody moved into Sodom on day 1. They camped near it. Lot looked at the culture of the valley and told himself he could easily handle the proximity. He told himself he was separate, that the distance was safe, that he was strong enough to stand on the edge of destruction without being burned. But that is the terrifying nature of compromise. It doesn't ask for your soul all at once. It just asks you to move your tent a little closer, to let their music play in your background, to let your children watch from a safe distance. And slowly, without a single dramatic moment of decision, the city simply gets inside you. So the terrifying question is this: where is your tent currently pitched? What exactly are you staying close to right now simply because you like the view? What culture, what entertainment, what relationship are you deliberately camping near, confidently telling yourself it isn't affecting you? You think you're standing on the edge observing it, but it is slowly, quietly, meticulously reshaping the way you think about what is normal. The descent into ashes never begins with a jump. It begins with a tent. The second sin was arrogance, overfeeding, and being deeply unconcerned. We live in the wealthiest, most technologically advanced civilization in human history. We have overwhelmingly more food than any people who have ever lived, more entertainment, more comfort, more endless options. And yet, simultaneously, we have the highest scientifically recorded rates of severe depression, crippling addiction, profound loneliness, and total meaninglessness of any civilization that has ever been comprehensively studied. More comfort has not miraculously made us more content. More options have not made us more free. More endless entertainment has not made our souls feel less violently empty. We are arrogant, overfed, and unconcerned. What does that exact diagnostic profile sound like to you? The third sin was clawing blindly in the dark. The frenzied mob outside Lot's door was struck completely blind by a terrifying supernatural force, and they simply kept reaching for the door anyway. They fundamentally could not stop. They could not honestly see what they were doing to themselves. They were so utterly consumed by the fire of what they wanted that literal blindness did not even slow them down. And I want to ask you a question that I want you to sit in complete silence with. What exactly are you still reaching for that has already cost you your sight? What specific appetite are you still aggressively feeding that has already blinded you to what it is actively doing to your marriage, your mind, or your soul? What door are you still frantically clawing at in the dark? And then there is the fourth, and perhaps most terrifying mirror, the two kings. Every single person watching this is standing right now on the exact same dusty road Abraham stood on after the great battle. Two distinct kingdoms are actively making you an offer right now. One respectfully offers you bread and wine and points steadily towards something eternal and lasting. One aggressively offers you immediate wealth, ultimate comfort, and the fleeting approval of a city that is already firmly scheduled for the fire. Abraham saw the clear difference in a split second. The question is not which offer momentarily sounds better. The question is which king you are already quietly tithing your life to. Where is your precious time going? Where is your ultimate loyalty going? Where is your limited energy being poured out every single day? One king leads directly to the peace of Jerusalem. One king leads directly to the silence of the ashes. You are already walking purposefully toward one of them. Which one is it? Sodom was promised as paradise. The Jordan Valley was like the garden of the Lord, the most beautiful land in the ancient world, and it delivered total annihilation. It stands now as a permanent monument, visible from space, covered by the deadest body of water on the planet. A place where nothing grows and nothing lives, to what happens when a culture decides it wants God's blessings without God's laws. Jesus said it plainly. In the days before the Son of Man is revealed, it will be just like the days of Lot. People eating, drinking, buying, selling, planting, building, and then fire falls. He was not speculating, he was warning. He said, remember Lot's wife, not as a curiosity, as an instruction, because the same pattern is possible again, because the same drift is happening again, because the tent is already pitched, the fire already fell once, the archaeology proves it, the warning is already on record. What you do with it is your decision. I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, what hit you the hardest in this video? Was it Melchizedek? Was it Ezekiel's diagnosis? Share your thoughts below, because I read every single one. If this video changed how you see this story, hit the like button so this warning can reach more people. Subscribe to the channel and check out my other videos because the history we are uncovering next is just as urgent and just as real. The fire already fell once. The warning still violently stands. Remember Lot's wife.